Like, share, and join our Telegram channel by clicking on the link which you can find in the description below. Remember, this is our only official Telegram channel, so do not be scammed. If you do not have Telegram, you can always download it so you can interact with us. Hi guys, hope you guys are doing good. We're back with another video, and basically today we're going to be looking at a trade that we actually took in the VIP signal group, and that was a trade on USA30, on US30, and this was our bias. We wanted to see price get back to this zone right here, and then we're going to look for short opportunities from that area, and this was actually from the M15 time frame. As you can see, we actually sent a signal out in our VIP signal channel. Okay, so let's see what happened from that area. As you can see, price actually did come back to our zone, as we wanted to see price get to this region, as that's actually a valid order block that we had right there. So I'm going to take you through the reason why I came up with this idea, right, for us to actually go short on this indice. Right, so if we look at this, right, I always like looking at this from the higher time frame, right? Your higher time frame will always be key, right? Especially for the people that I know that are starting out into trading, or those that are just trying to trade these indices. They are so much interested in these lower time frames, right? And trust me, lower time frames are good for timing your entries, right? But very there's a lot of noise in a lower time frame, so it does not make sense for you to just be rushing to the lower time frames without really understanding what's happening in your bigger picture, right? It's better for you to understand your bigger picture, then refine your entries down to the smaller time frames. This way you can actually get to minimize your risk and maximize your gains, right? Okay. So looking at US30, if we look at this from the weekly time frame, one thing we can actually see is price is actually moving away from a supply zone, right? As you can see, as you all know, for these indices, there's nothing really to the left, right? And these indices are, driven by fundamentals most of the time, right? But as for me, I just like following what I have on my chart, right? That's how I've been trading for years, and yeah, I've been profitable with that. Okay, so looking at this, right, we can see what we had. You can't see it in your weekly time frame, but we actually had a base area here. This is a sell zone. Remember, price is coming from a supply zone. We've got a drop, base drop. You can't see it here, but if you can actually move down to your daily time frame, there, right? So that sell zone broke this structure, right? That sell zone broke that structure. Okay. So if we go to the daily, this is the area I'm talking about, right? In the weekly time frame, you can't see it. It just looks like a wick. Right? You see there? Can't really see it. It's different. It's different from this type of sell zone where we get a drop, and we can clearly see the base and then move away, right? So this is more like your hidden base. Well, you can't really see it in the weekly time frame, right? But once you train your eye, it'll be easy for you to see. So this was our sell zone right here. So you should always understand what's controlling price, right? Very, very important. So if you look at the daily, this is what we have. In the daily time frame, this was the supply zone, right? Or your sell area, or your sell zone, right there. Right? And as you can see, that is where the price actually went back to, right? After breaking structure and reacting to this area, price then made its way back to that zone. Right, as you can see, we also had some trap moves here. As you can see, if you look at this from your 4 hour, this is what you had, right? A lot of people had a bunch of SLs around this area, right? A bunch of stop losses around that area, a bunch of stop losses. And as you can see from the daily time frame, right, this candle, did the job. This candle dealt with all those people, right? This candle dealt with all those people. Now, for some people, they can be asking themselves that, okay, I can see that this is a supply zone, but this candle is too big, right? I mean, this is a bearish engulfing candle, but it's too big, guys, as you can see. I would prefer to find something like this, right? Look at this one, right? This one, that's a nice zone for you to actually look for sells at, this zone. But in this case, this zone here is too big. Let me actually highlight it. This one is too big, right? So how do you actually now, try and minimize your risk and get a good entry? In this case, I'm going to pull the fib from this area, right? I'm going to pull the fib from that area to this low, right? And my area of interest is the 50, 61, 80 area. And as you can see, that is exactly where we had price pushing into, right? So price pushed into that area, right? Remember, this is all by just understanding your higher time frames first before you rush into anything. This is how the higher time frame looks. But now we're trying by all means to minimize our risk. Even in the weekly time frame, you can see we had this candle here. There's a pin bar. That's a pin bar. If you take the fib from that weekly high to the low, price actually came back to the mid level. Right? These are basics, right? But very powerful as you look for confluence, right? So when we analyze this chart, right, if we go to the 15-minute time frame, this is where we actually got to the chart and saw an opportunity, right? So going to the 4-hour time frame, price gets into the area. We can see that price gets into the zone, fine. Price then breaks structure to the downside, right? Multiple structures being broken, right? After price breaks the structure, price then gets back to this order block. That's actually a decision point type 1, right? There, price gets to that order block and moves away from it, right? Bit of hidden base there, broken, right? Price gets back to another zone again, right? And then finally, price gives you something clean, right? A clean structure breaker. This one, right? Sorry about that. Here's a clean break of structure, and then price then made its way back to the supply zone. So that is when I actually got to my terminal, and that is when I saw this opportunity when I sent it out to our VIP signal channel. This is where price was. All right. So as you can see from that area, our targets were actually down here. I'll take profit 1 down there. Because as you can see, this was when we had the beginning of this move to the upside, and also what I saw on the left side was this area. Right? We can also see how price left that area previously and how price came back to that area, and we can see how price left. So this was actually a nice area for you to target as you sold from this area. And as you can see, price actually moved away very nicely. Right? Price actually moved away very nicely from this area, right? So US30 and Nasdaq kind of move same direction most of the times, but I just saw a more clear setup on US30. But trust me, you can always find the same on Nasdaq too, right? For those people who love trading, there you go. Right? I mean, these setups are there. It's just a matter of knowing what you're looking for, right? So yeah, there. We had nice sells on there. You can see where this move began. So yeah, we had very good opportunities on this pair. So far, right now, what I'm going to be looking for on US30, and also guys, confluence. You know that I always combine BTMM and order flow concepts, or smart money concepts rather. If you look at this from a BTMM chart. All right, I know some people don't trade with indicators, and that's okay. All right, but this is all in line with how banks trade, how market makers move the market, right? So if you look at it from the weekly, just from the BTMM perspective, one thing we can see already is we've got a peak formation lock, right? We've got a peak formation lock, and we've got a 1350 crossover. So sometime in the future, if we don't get a reset on this 200 EMA, if we don't get a reset there, I would expect price to react on that 50 EMA, right? I definitely want to see price react around that 50 EMA, right? But so far, if you go to the daily, look at what we had, right? As you can see, we had a peak reset at this area. This is the peak, and further confluence was we had a nice order block there. Fine, as you can see, a nice information just above, right? A nice information above the 200 EMA. Right? So if you looked at your daily, look at what you had. Right, your shark fin, right? The shark fin back into that, into those bands. Okay, so from that area, look at what we had, right? We had 1350 crossover. So this was actually a very clean pullback. Remember confluence, we had a nice supply zone there. This was a clean pullback to our 50 EMA. So that's our 50 bounds in our daily time frame, right? So we all know that a 50 bounds in the daily time frame is actually a reset. Right? It's a reset in your 4-hour time frame. So if you look at this, right, after when we had this reset right here, right, when we had this reset, we had that 50 200 crossover as this cycle played out. So this was actually our first clean pullback, right, after the cycle had completed to the 50 EMA, and that was just above the 200 EMA. So that is the reason why we had that move. Right? So I always get questions from people asking me if BCMM works on indices, works on anything, right? Only if you know what to look for, right? Only if you know what to look for. Right, guys, I hope you learned something from this video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you're new. Don't forget to join our Telegram channel for free signals and free setups and more educational